Oh!
Oh! The shark is not working. I repeat.
Better.
I don't know if they could. Real quick, I forgot to tell you that I'm on vacation the week that Batman v Superman comes out.
Batman v Superman.
They were gonna kill me.
No.
They were gonna kill me.
Welcome to the Exit Only Theater podcast. You didn't expect that one coming, did you?
I know.
All right.
Your cat was very honest.
This is our weekly news roundup. Aside from our reviews, this is what we usually talk about, what's happening in the world of movies. So we're going to get right to it. JP Lee, how are you?
I'm good. I'm still reeling from the witch that we saw earlier this week, so
Exactly.
I still have no idea what that
I've gone to
meant.
church every 10 minutes since watching that movie. And I still think I'm going to hell.
Church is longer than 10 minutes.
I said, well, I go to different kinds of church.
Lie.
I didn't say I was not a sinner, okay? But I'm not.
Church a lot, man.
Yeah. And yet my mustache keeps going back. That makes no sense. But speaking of makes no sense,
I love how it made no sense. Your transition made no sense. Let's just get to the topic.
all right, here we go.
It was like
We're gonna do our casting roundup.
inception of awkward.
We're gonna round up. We're kind of debate, not debate. We're gonna catch up on all the casting news from the last week. All right, first up, episode 8. Aside from them dropping this awesome teaser video of them starting production on episode 8, they also released and confirming who's gonna be in the movie, and 2 notable actors that one that we saw coming, one that we did not see coming, ended up being released as news. One, Benicio del Toro's been cast in episode 8. That was confirmed. The surprise, Laura Dern, actress from Jurassic Park.
Love her.
Most recently, my favorite, The Wild, or just Wild, with that came out a couple years ago.
Oh, she was really good in Recount too.
Yeah,
You guys ever
Recount.
saw that?
But yeah, I thought that was really cool. Any thoughts on that one?
No, well, we'll jump into it. I think you have
Cool.
2 other ones.
We have 2 other ones. Like she said. Kurt Russell.
It's hard not to lead when I'm usually like the one.
Kurt Russell has been confirmed
Uh-huh.
to be cast in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. James
Finally,
Gunn
the
released
rumors.
the cast in a tweet. And then finally, Emily Blunt is in negotiations to be cast as Mary Poppins. And not just not a reboot or anything. It's a legit just sequel, Mary Poppins. Yeah.
Doesn't make
All
any
right.
sense.
Based off those 3, which casting
Uh-huh.
is most interesting to you, good and or bad?
The most interesting in the bad way, but I'm gonna go with my first gut is Emily Blunt. I have no idea why they're doing this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and it's already started to reel in the fact that like she just announced she's pregnant with her next child, so the casting is gonna be, the scheduling's gonna be all out of whack. I don't know why they're touching a film that is a Disney classic. It's a film classic. I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's just to
I love her, though.
just to continue your point. I don't understand. There's not a line of old people lining up. We want to see the sequel.
Yeah, so
No.
who's the tiny demographic of people like within our age group that were like, we don't just want to watch the original that we grew up with and have a nostalgic connection to, but
Yeah.
we really like Saving Mr. Banks, so give us more.
Yeah,
There's like 4 people that probably
anybody
fit that
younger than 18 has probably not even seen Mary Poppins.
No.
And I think that's the truth. I think like it's over. Feel
Sucks.
confident. 95% of humanity that's younger than 18
Jesus.
has
I go
not.
higher.
Yeah.
Really?
I go higher.
I
No
go-
way.
Like 20s.
Yeah.
Oh, my kids are totally seeing Mary Poppins.
Yeah, but think about this. We're movie
Totally.
buffs, and we're gonna say, "Oh, that was a class. You need to watch this."
But you gotta this is something I thought of earlier this week that's completely random and has nothing to do with this conversation.
I like your
but
style.
Sort of does. Is that when I'm a few years away, we're a few years away from having kids, but when I grew up, I saw all these older movies first because my parents were like, this stuff is the reason why these movies were the way they are. So kids don't necessarily, they don't come out of the womb thinking, I want to see CGI, fast-paced, ADD action.
Yeah.
They don't know. Sean's the exception of the rule, but he's always the exception. He's special. But when you
You're special,
when you
boy.
grow up though, I saw West Side Story, I saw Jaws as a kid, all these movies that have slower paces, different style.
Yeah.
You appreciate them because you don't have a reference point because you don't see these newer, crazier movies. So
Yeah.
why are these parents showing all these kids all these crazy action movies and not giving them the classics? That was just my rant. It drives me nuts, and I don't understand why now we have to make this 21st century version. That's
It's
so
unfortunate.
set in the 30s. I don't know.
Yeah, the one thing I am excited about, Kurt Russell joining Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Finally confirmed.
Finally confirmed.
Because that shit's
He's
been
in it. We don't know what the hell he's
rumored.
playing,
That's
but a lot of you could kind of put two and two together. He's probably going to be Star-Lord Peter Quill's dad, as in Chris Pratt's
you need
dad.
someone with hella charisma. To
Hella
be able to
charisma
play
that
it.
also gives a hint to like that awesome special era that the movies gives nods to in the 80s.
That's a good send up. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
So I am totally pumped for it. I'm like,
That's a good point.
who would somebody like? Where does he get his personality from? Dude, fucking Kurt Russell, man. Like.
That's a good. I like that.
Like Kevin Smith said, I saw a podcast with him. That same podcast, he's like, "It's a good time to be alive, man." You have Kurt Russell being the dad of Star-Lord, a
Allegedly.
comic that nobody ever fucking read. It's like it's amazing. It's so
Dude,
cool.
those comics are actually good.
Really?
Well, the newer ones. I've read the
Well,
newer ones.
because they're catering them to the movie, kind of.
Mm,
Because like
yeah.
the originals are like, "I'm Star-Lord, back off."
Do you actually know who his dad is, though, and what he does?
This is the thing. Like in the comics, he's not cast as like they're not using the same one from the comic.
Right.
It's not
what's gonna be
canon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How much are they gonna
Yeah,
What are they
so-
gonna do?
Yeah.
So like if you're trying to Google like comic book Peter Quill's dad,
Yeah.
it's not going to be that's not canon
That's
for the
not
movie.
what they're following.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
not following that. Rumor is that he's going to be like brother of Thanos himself. So then that's all that whole like oh my god, and then it's all
That's-
kind of like holy shit.
Does
that's
that mean
really
Thanos
small.
might be doing something more than just sitting?
That's rumor. That's the rumor. But we shall see. But kind of going off the vein of, or not the vein, but like kind of going on the topic of like Mary Poppins and all that stuff.
Remakes or not?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
why, like as far as like why movies that don't necessarily need to have continuations or even be touched at all.
Mhm.
What movies do you think, if there's like a certain movie or movies that you think that shouldn't have a sequel or be touched at all, which would they be?
I have a big qualm with the fact that Jumanji's getting remade
Ooh.
or sequelized. What the hell are they doing with it?
I wish I could tell you. I
Wait,
think it's a
what?
straight up sequel.
I don't
Is
think
it-
they've released what they're doing yet. have
It's-
they?
No, they put a release date in there.
It's
It's
annoying.
coming out
Which is
December
also-
next year.
That's also disturbing that they're like, we don't really know what we're doing, or we're not telling you, but
Yeah.
it's also coming out in less than 2 years.
Mhm.
That freaks me out a little bit.
That bothers me a lot, especially with Robin Williams because he kicked ass and it was awesome.
Right, like you can't. That movie is
It's like
such
Aladdin.
a fun
Like
kids movie.
Aladdin, they're making a live action. It's like, yeah, that's interesting. I'm good if you can nail it, but the genie cannot be a big part in that story.
No, which is, as a kid, like if you don't have the genie, like when in the second movie they didn't have Robin Williams do the voice, you could tell. I was like 9, I could tell. So
Yeah.
I don't understand why they're trying to like, it's almost pandering to our generation, because our generation grew up with Robin Williams. So
Yeah.
it's really upsetting that you think that like, us in 4 or 5 years when we have kids are gonna take them to those movies just because there's a loose connection to our childhood.
Yeah.
Like respect us more. We're not gonna see them.
Yeah, dude.
The
No.
14-year-olds might though. I'm a little concerned for them. I don't
Yeah.
know, I'm salty today. I don't know why.
No, it's rightfully so. Like for me, even though it's been, you know, this was a tough question for me because
Yeah.
I'm one of those where I'm like, hey, if you have the balls to go after something, go ahead and do it.
Mhm.
Problem is when you're a studio that goes after something, more times than not, it doesn't work.
You're afraid to take risks, and you're only doing it for the money, and it doesn't make a very good product.
Totally agree. And I'm gonna be very honest with this. Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a movie that should never be touched ever again. I know they're already redoing it. They're doing
Yep.
a reboot, but it's a property that has never been done right from the first place.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi did a certain version of it, but it was never 100% truly
And
Spider-Man.
2 of the 3 were very well received.
Yeah,
so
like the
it's-
first 2 Spider-Man movies where I was very entertained. I'm like, man, that's really cool. I
Mhm.
know that's not Spider-Man, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's getting to the point where it's just like, you've dug so much in, like, not even into the character, but you literally, like, been, like, picking at this property
Yeah.
for forever. There's nothing really there substance-wise.
I would almost argue it's worse than the fact that they keep rebooting Fantastic Four because people care more about Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just eating away at people who have this like undying passion for a character that really matters to them versus Fantastic Four that's just like it's intriguing. They have some powers.
Yeah,
We
man.
can never get this casting right.
Yeah, it's just it's depressing because like, oh, they're making another Spider-Man reboot. That's cool, starring Daniel Day-Lewis. Oh, that's great. Yeah, not gonna watch it. That's not true, but you know, like they're throwing,
don't
they're
feed that rumor.
that like it's just they're throwing everything at it to make it more like to say, oh, well, we and Marvel has Spider-Man now. We're gonna do it different. No, you're not. You're gonna do it the exact same way.
I will give them one try at it. will see a non-Sony Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
If I like it, then I will be okay with that franchise. But I'm with you. I'm getting very close to being sick of it.
I'm like, leave it alone. I'm like, just stop.
Yeah, just read the comics if you want something new.
Yeah, it's like when somebody keeps making fun of somebody. It's like, dude, we get it. Like,
just let it go.
Yeah, just let it.
Seems like this one wants to chime in.
Oh, fuck. I was just gonna say, maybe it'll help because he's not gonna be in his own movie at first. But if say they're gonna do that, I would actually make him be in a few Avenger-esque movies.
So treat him like the Hulk
before bringing him back, like the Hulk.
Yeah, but
a little bit, yeah.
But that again, that helps my argument. Mary Poppins could come out in fucking Jungle Book for all I care.
It could help
That's
the character
cool.
though. If you see this is a lot. There's just a lot of imagery that I was trying to ignore.
What is this hanging on
my brain?
Whoa! There's a jungle down there.
What has she been doing all this time?
Floating for 20 years.
She's been looking for a new job since she left that other one.
Off the rails.
No.
Well, what I was gonna say was that Spider-Man, if he's played as a younger character, which Holland is much younger than the rest of the cast, if you make him like this sort of like not sidekick, but like he's almost like being an annoying teenager, like if you do that in a few films, that could be kind of fun because he isn't supposed to be this perfect person. He's an angsty teen.
He's more supposed to be the age that they're casting him now,
so
which is nice to see that.
It's nice to see that, but like,
but is it really?
No. The thing is, like, Deadpool created a nice avenue into where what you could do with a main character being a smartass.
Mm-hmm.
And if you treat Spider-Man that way without the swears and the weird sexual stuff,
well, then don't you have Flash? In a certain way.
That's in a way, yeah.
And that works.
Yeah,
especially when he goes into Arrow, you see the
there's a crossover there. That it could work with that. The thing is, they haven't gotten it down to this point.
Right, you're skeptical because it hasn't worked in the last 3 movies they've done.
Because like us, people that have seen the animated series and that have read the comics are like, well, you know, they did it right there. It's just like Superman. It's just like, yeah, they did it right there. But the people that are making the movies are just like, we want to do it a certain way.
Right.
And it's just like, it's not like I just don't think it works.
I will take the opinion that I had in Star Wars, where the last 3 versions were pretty bad, but there's a new guy in the helm. I'll give him a shot, and that exceeded my expectations a couple months ago. So maybe a small dose of Spider-Man thrown into Civil War will help whet our appetites for something more. I'm just playing devil's advocate because otherwise it would just be us agreeing with each other for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But no, it's true. It really could go either way, and you are probably going to be right. But I'd rather us be proven wrong.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but I wanted to also close off our conversation with, speaking of Deadpool.
Yes.
There's a lot of talk right now going on amongst fans on the internet is that, oh my gosh, like this R-rated movie worked. Specifically with superhero movies. Will we see more R-rated superhero movies, and should we see more R-rated superhero movies?
There's a lot of layers to this because, yes, studios shouldn't be afraid to do rated R movies. So the fact that a film destroyed at the box office on Valentine's Day weekend, that should be a good sign for studios to take more risks. Good on you. That's a good thing. The next level below that is how much do you trust studios not to screw that up? Because when you're limited with the Deadpool, right? Exactly. When you're limited to a $50 million budget with Deadpool, you're giving people, you're doing it with an untested director, an actor who was in a comic book movie already and it was not good at all. Mm-hmm. They've basically they handed over control and we're like, all right, you guys do what you got to do because it's not going to be it doesn't matter if it fails because it's not that much money to us. Now it's going to be okay. We were going to throw $150 million at this. We're going to see how this goes. They're not going to know that what worked for that was that they didn't put too much of their own, and influence into it. So I'm a little worried that they're going to take what the product was and completely F with how they did it and do it the way they think they should be doing it, and it's going to destroy the spirit of either a funny rated R movie or a genuinely gory rated R movie, which hints at the Wolverine news.
And going towards that Wolverine news. I agree with you, and I'm going to take it from the angle of the spirit of the character that was Deadpool.
You can speak to it better than me, so.
Deadpool, I think, worked as a rated R movie because of the type of rated R it was. Mm-hmm. It was rated R in the fact that it was very vulgar, and it was violence, but it was gratuitous violence where it was also making fun of itself while it was doing it.
It was comedic
The
violence.
it's the entire movie was kind of making fun of itself, and people liked that because it was refreshing when you watch all these superhero movies that take themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
You see Batman v Superman coming out, you're like, it's God versus man.
So rooting, yeah.
You watch Civil War. Oh, choose a side.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Deadpool is just like, choose a chimichanga. Like serious. And
like,
it's
we could just enjoy
it's
ourselves.
relieving.
Like, goodness, yeah.
And for that rated R, it works.
Yeah.
Wolverine 3 is in talks to be rated R. That movie is not going to be Deadpool rated R. It's going to be more like
Watchmen rated R.
It's going to be Watchmen rated R, where it's going to be
God,
very. Shut up. Like that was that was like the one moment of me really beaming. Shut up. Like
He's just gonna replay like a GIF over and over.
Wolverine 3 is gonna be very violent. If it's rated R, you're gonna go that.
That's the kind of rated R.
It's not even Tarantino violence. It's gonna be straight up violent, where you see a guy's hand cut off, and you're gonna be like, "Good God!" Yeah, it's so. I think it's a mistake from. As a fan, I'm excited to see what they could do with it. I don't think they're gonna nail it because it's gonna be the first time they're like, violence. There you go. Are you happy? And it's gonna be like they don't know how to handle it.
It's true.
I trust James Mangold, the director, but I don't trust the studio from them putting their hand and saying.
It's how much influence gets intertwined.
And since Deadpool only had that small budget, and they said, look, if you stay under budget, we'll let you do what you guys want. Wolverine's not gonna stay under budget. It's Wolverine. It's Hugh Jackman's last Wolverine movie. I doubt they're gonna be like, oh, here's $50 million. They'll be like, no, we're gonna give you $200 million. Go to do what you want, but
we might have a few notes.
We're gonna be like, sew Deadpool's mouth shut.
We're gonna thriller dance our way into the opening.
They're gonna be like, no.
The one time I look over, I'm like, what the hell?
But think about this, like, X-Men Origins Wolverine, massive budget. And they're like, hey, Wolverine, you get your own standalone movie. What happened? They sewed Deadpool's mouth shut, and it was the worst standalone movie you probably ever made.
It's like they didn't have any comic book fans on set at all.
Not at all. And with all due respect to Hugh Jackman, I don't trust you with your own property, man. Like, you're great as the character, but when it's you on your own running things, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he's been tested in that way, so it's not... You wouldn't have any frame of reference.
Like, believe me, like I'm a huge, like we just said right now, as you could tell, I loved Watchmen. I think a rated R movie works if you know what you're doing and it serves the story.
Yeah.
Like if a rated R Batman movie came out and if it was done in the right way in a specific storyline, it's an amazing movie. Dark Knight was like if you add a couple little things in there, it's pretty. It's rated R. It's rated R. But it served the story for it to be that serious tone. If it wanted to be rated R, it could have, and it would have worked still.
Yeah, someone was burned alive on a stack of money.
Exactly.
They just didn't show a cutaway, which saved them a rating.
Yeah, so I don't think studios should be doing it to see, all right, let's see if we could push the envelope. It depends on the type of movie that you're doing, and depends on the budget. It really does. It really does. Sean, what do you think? Can a Superman movie be rated R?
Well, it's not worth it. The same as Batman. It's not, like, neither one of those characters are supposed to kill. Like, that's their line between being bad guy and good guy.
That's true, if it's in the morality at all.
Yeah.
But Deadpool doesn't have a line. He just kills whoever. He's a mercenary, so he doesn't really have any rules.
That's a really good point.
How about this? Can you do a Wolverine story where, let's say he loses absolute control, kills 5 people violently, and it still be the movie that you want it to be, where it's not just so over the top where you're like, all right, come on. Do you think that'll work? Do you need to see that? Is my question.
No, but that's kind of how Wolverine is supposed to be, isn't he? He's just supposed to be kind of like crazy berserker mode, go slay everyone he wants to slay.
See, now the thing that worries me is that because Hugh Jackman has become such a huge star because of that role, do you protect him to a certain extent?
I think
from being that ultra violent character, because now you've sold him as something completely different from what the comics would be.
Yeah.
So it depends where they pick him up too in the time period of what he's.
Which they could go anywhere. It's X-Men.
Everywhere. So who knows?
Which version of Wolverine?
But going back to your point, if going off just the films that they've done, Wolverine is not Wolverine from the comics.
Right.
And he's like this almost like
controlled.
He's more controlled, but he's more like I would relate to like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne, where he's just always like, man, what do I do? Do I do this? Do I do what I want to do, or do I do what I need to do? Where it's just like it's a lot of the way superhero movies are done now.
Yeah.
It's like where that main character always answers that question asks that question within himself. But I think if you go the other way, where he just loses it, it's gonna be such a
it's a
turn.
tangent, yeah.
It's such a turn where it just the people that will go to pay it will pan the movie, and I don't think they're gonna nail it. That's just me.
You have a character that's become so film friendly, it's a little dangerous to veer away from that, especially if it's his last version.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make Wolverine super like deadly and violent or whatever the case may be, throw that version of the Wolverine character into the sequel of Deadpool, and then you get the best of both worlds, where he's just like this crazy person.
Yeah, it's almost like a new introduction.
Right,
yeah,
right.
That's exactly what we said last time, where it's like bridge him through, like the way you guys want to bridge Spider-Man into there, bridge the new Wolverine.
Yeah, you can do a new introduction.
Yeah, but no, I think obviously it's a pretty unanimous, like, don't do it unless, just don't do it. Don't do it just because you can. Yeah, like, unless you're trying to make a very serious film, don't go rated R.
Or it's a very funny film.
If you're
going in extremes, then rated R serves because you're going to appeal to a certain kind of audience in either direction.
Like the Freddy Krueger sequels. The very first one, very violent, very horrifying movie. After that, the rest of those movies are very slapstick because they're like, we need people in theaters. People are not going to see 7 serious freaking Freddy Krueger movies. Like, we want to see him, welcome to prime time, bitch. Right. You know, it's like, good God, but you're laughing at it. Yeah. You're laughing at it.
You can understand what the studios are doing. They're trying to broaden their audience, but I'm willing to see them take risks if they're not just doing it because there's an avenue to make more money.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. But no, that's all for this week. Stay tuned in. We'll always have to our Instagram page, Twitter page, Facebook page. And we'll keep you up to date with all the latest news and whatnot. And Oscars are coming,
Oscars are coming up. Well, actually, depending on when we air this, it may have already happened. I don't know exactly what's going on.
Back to the Future.
Time Machine. But also in March, there's a bunch of really good movies coming out. So maybe we'll do
Batman v Superman is coming. The big one is
10
coming.
10 Cloverfield Lane is coming out
10
soon.
Cloverfield Lane.
Is it 10 or 12 now that I'm thinking about it?
Midnight Special's coming soon,
10
too.
10 or 12? Is it 10? Okay.
Yeah.
Just had to I had to check with research. Sorry.
I'm trusting his research.
Well, because then I would have made you dub me and be like, when I said 10, it'd be like 12. So would have had to fix in post. Either way, you would have had to fix it.
But the comic book season, the year of the comic book movie is obviously well underway. The biggest one of the year is coming out, and we're days away. We're days away.
2.5 hour juggernaut of a film.
I can't. I'm glad it's that long. It's Watchmen long.
It has to be. It has to be because of all the crap they have to get through.
Watchmen.
That's the only thing that you remember. You're just like, God, that guy is.
Let that be the thumbnail for this clip, for this episode. It's just him doing this. And the fact that I just freaking did it. Get us off the air.
I don't need my
just
finger to do that.
The air. Go. Wrap up.
Alrighty. This has been the Wiener Only Podcast. I am Adrian Alderette.
I'm JP Lee, and we'll see you when the credits roll.